It was the panelists.
No, because of you, we have accepted.
I think CII does a fantastic job every time.
Yeah, correct.
And,
so,
just phenomenal to see.
How are you? I'm glad to see the active participation of CII in this. Yeah.
Anuj, you seem to have lost further weight.
He's running. He just did his 20 kilometers.
I just make sure
to the studio.
That our IT team makes me look leaner, thinner, fitter.
So, which is that software? Send it to us.
Jaishankar, do you know that there is in the Zoom, you can add a mustache, you can change your eyebrow, all of that.
Oh, really? No, I've never tried that.
But Anuj doesn't need any of that because his 20 kilometers marathon, he must have run in the morning and
No, sir. I've sort of gone a little slow on doing it now. I used to do a lot of it, a little slow. Hi, Raviji. Look at this young, smart, handsome, 20-year-old Mr. Ravi Agarwal. Mr. Jaishankar, you should meet up with him. Huh? He's quite a dude. Huh? In NCR to survive is a big thing. In NCR to survive, and he's not surviving, he's flourishing there.
Flourishing. So we need to learn a lot from the youngsters.
He's actually not that young. He looks very young, but he's not that young. So he set up the Signature Global brand. His brother and he, both of them, have the Signature Global, which has all pedigreed investors. They're wanting to follow Mr. Jaishankar, your footsteps. So they want to get listed like Brigade has listed. They have some pedigreed private equity investors, including the World Bank.
I think in the next 12 months, you will see a lot of new listings by developers, and which is good for the sector.
Correct.
Absolutely. I think it will bring in very interesting modern practices, bring in more equity, governance, and everything. I think clearly the industry is probably will look significantly different than what it was, say, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Correct.
I don't know. I just see my name in 4 or 5. I did my best to remove it. I must be doing it from north, south, central, west zone. I tried to do that. I'm unable to do that. Sorry. I'm only in one. Okay.
So should we call you your omnipresent?
No, my avatars.
Puri, I think we can begin. Yeah. Ronit, please.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to welcome you all to the launch of the CII ANAROCK Real Estate Consumer Sentiment Survey, Indian Housing Sector Emerging Stronger. Welcome everyone. We will now be beginning with the inaugural session of the conclave. May I first invite to deliver the welcome address, Mr. Deepak Garg, Chairman, CII Pune Zonal Council and Managing Director, SAINI South Asia and SAINI India. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman, CII Knowledge Session and Chairman ANAROCK Group. Mr. Harsh Nevatia, Chairman Ambuja Nevatia Group. Mr. M.R. Jaishankar, CMD Brigade Group. Mr. Irfan Kazi, CIO Swami Investment Fund. Mr. Ravi Agarwal, Co-founder and Managing Director, Signature Global. Mr. Malayappan Nori, CEO and MD of Sriram Properties. Mr. Santanam, CEO Asia Pacific and Chairman Saint Gobain India. Mr. Vipul Rumta, Managing Director and CEO HDFC Capital Advisors Limited. My colleague Asim from CII. Thank you all for joining us today for this session, and I really feel privileged to be a part of this elite panel today. Though I am not very directly connected to the real estate industry, but yes, surely I have a couple of connections. As a company, we are the largest concrete equipment manufacturer in the world. And the pumping of the world is being done by Uzmeister Sani as a group worldwide. So I think that's why one connect with this elite group. And second, obviously, I'm a small buyer of some residential properties. And, whole of the world talks about COVID times. But when I look back, I myself ended up buying a couple of properties in this COVID times. So I'm still wondering, as to what was my sentiment or what was that consumer sentiment that led me to do this. I also want to share one very important thing. In the community where I live, we have 4 penthouses on a floor where I was alone for last 6 years. The moment COVID hit, wave 1 and wave 2 put together, all the other 3 were sold out. And they were empty for last 7 years. So what is this sentiment? I am also not able to figure out. I was really at a loss, and I think this elite panel and along with Anuj, your survey, I think can really give us some thoughts, some enlightening on as to where the consumer sentiment is moving. But anyways, I see that, post the pandemic, I think while we look back as one of the horror stories forever, I would say that the real estate sector in Mumbai or even in all the metro cities have actually bounced back post the COVID. And the growth would be seen in the H2 of last year, continuing right up to March. And then I think a bit of a slowdown, but I think it is all geared up. And all this being well supported by the government initiatives as well. So government, one is in terms of providing some support to registration charges, some government policies. Also, I saw a good FDI coming in from in various sectors. Of course, majority of that going to the office space from various companies or various PE funds. But government support also came largely from the 20 million houses which the government talked about in terms of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. And I think that also drove a lot. Maybe many of the real estate players are a part of this program. And the consumer sentiment there also was very, very important. And I know for sure many people who actually utilize this facility to have a home for themselves. And with whatever facilities, and I have seen real estate developers and companies working with these consumers to see that they get end-to-end support right up to the possession. So I think this is something which has been a changing trend which we have seen over the last couple of years. We also saw a lot of housing launches. I understand that they were almost 2x from the last quarter of 2020 going forward. So that's also a very good trend. And as per Anurag, one of your reports, I saw the sales also in the first quarter of this fiscal was almost over 90% more than last year. Of course, it was on a lower base because of the wave 1. But considering wave 2, I think this is a good bounce back for the industry. So I think there are different sentiments which are playing around. I am not an expert on that, but I'm sure the Anurag report will bring that out, and our experts from the real estate industry can build upon it and share their perspective on the report, and they would bring out as to what exactly the consumer sentiments are going forward. And with this backdrop, I would like to thank Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman CII Knowledge Session and Chairman Anurag, and his team along with the CII Secretariat for coming up with this apt and industry relevant and timely survey, which help us deep dive into the current trends of the Indian real estate sector and more specifically provide us more insights of the consumer sentiments which are playing or which are going to play in the near future, which will, I'm sure, help all the companies, all the developers who are sitting here. So thank you once again for joining us, and may I now invite Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman CI Knowledge Session and Chairman NRO Group, to kindly deliver his address, please.
Thank you very much, Deepak ji, and very good afternoon to everyone. Deepak ji, you have set up the stage very beautifully, touching on three main topics, which is how the Indian economy has bounced back. Clearly, we had been in this lockdown situation, from March 2020. We had the first wave, we opened, we had the second wave, we opened. We've seen how quickly and how effectively the Indian economy has been able to bounce back. Clearly the IMF and the World Bank are predicting that we may be more than 9% GDP growth, as you touched upon. Stock markets are doing well. Many unicorns are coming up. And, it does look like that the Indian economy is well set on its way to recovery. The real estate part within that has also done pretty well. And, I must admit is that I was a little iffy in April, May, June of last year when the first wave hit, thinking that, on the residential side, who's going to come in and buy? There were job losses that were happening, salary cuts were happening. There weren't those bonuses or commissions that were coming in before. So I was like, this is going to be like a tough 2, 3, 4 years. And then once the, lockdown started to lift, we saw it having a V-shaped recovery. We had the second lockdown. Again, after lifting up of the second lockdown, we've seen a V-shaped recovery. So the second point, Deepak, that you touched is also very interesting, is that, what has prompted Mr. Deepak Garg to buy a house? What has prompted his neighbors to buy that 3 vacant penthouses, which were lying vacant for the last 6 years? So I think several things, one is people want to upgrade, people want a social security. But what we have discovered, and we're going to go through this in a little bit more detail in the subsequent video, and Prashant, my colleague, is going to talk a little bit about it, is that we've seen for the first time millennials coming in, and they are buying a lot of it. We've seen the demand continue to remain end user, but in certain cities, we've seen the long-term investors starting to come in, not short-term, not speculators, who are the guys who dirty the market. Long-term investors, and which are required in the market, they are starting to come in. We've seen ready to move in inventory moving, or 6 to 9 months towards completion moving. We've seen second homes really doing very well. The farmhouses, 20-25% appreciation in those. My friend Vipul is here, and I'm going to ask him about plotted development. I mean, he's done it exceptionally well, and he set up a fund on plotted development for whatever reason. And you name it, whether it's Godrej, Shobha, Purvankara, all the listed guys, they're wanting to now do plotted development, which has really picked up. We've seen the sizes of the residential apartments go up. We've seen many buyers wanting to move towards the periphery of the city. And finally, what we have seen is that the developers who had the credibility, who had the corporate governance, who had the financial discipline, who had taken care of their customers, who had a delivery focus, have done exceptionally well. In the process, this market has got consolidated. I think is that it is coming out beautifully on the other side of this COVID tunnel, where you will have mature, transparent, well-governed, well-disciplined, players in the various stakeholders that are going to be able to take this sector. And I've got a very eclectic panel who is going to discuss this in more detail. But one of the things that a lot of people ask is that why is this picked up so well? What is it? And whether it is going to go forward in the same momentum as what we have seen in the last 18 months. Several reasons. I'll just touch on 3. One is the low mortgage penetration that we have. As the mortgage penetration increase, you're going to see more and more home buyers there. Second, we are a very young nation, and we're going to see many of these buyers wanting to graduate to be able to buy, just like what we've seen internationally. And the third is, if you look at the home buyers compared to China or US, where the home buyer profile is about 75 to 80% of the population having at least one home, we are in the low 30s at this moment in time. So there's a huge amount of buffer, huge amount of ability for us to continue to sell. I'll just give you one anecdote, just like you gave an anecdote. I met up with a developer. He's a Chinese developer. They're doing development in India. They have 3 large developments in India. I'd gone and met up with them at one of their developments, and I just asked him. I said, okay, what's the revenue that you did last year, just before COVID? And they said $100 billion. One developer. Our residential market, all put together, is about $17 billion. One developer of China, $100 billion. Our resi market for new homes, $17 billion. So we are like sort of 5 or 6 times multiple of the one developer that we have in China. Now, China is a separate story. It's a separate country. It's it's a little comparison that we can draw, but that is the scope for us to be able to go through this. And we are hoping that the resilience that this sector has shown over the last 18 months, this momentum of sales and the consolidation within the developer community will continue to bring in more positive sentiment within the residential sector. I'm going to stop here because I do want to ask the CII, Asim or Ronit, to play a video. And then we'll just have 5 minutes of Prashant just giving details of what he's picked up from the consumer sentiment survey. And then we're going to get into a very exciting part with very senior leaders who are going to discuss what happened and what transpired, but more importantly, going forward, what is going to happen.
Ron, shall I go ahead?
Yeah, Prashant, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Anuj. Thank you for setting the context so beautifully. Good afternoon, all the eminent members of the panel and people who have logged in. It gives me immense pleasure to present ANROC's Consumer Sentiment Survey report in front of all of you. Quickly, in 5 or 6 slides, I have tried to highlight what are the key findings. Ron, can you go to the next slide, please? So as rightly said, that during this pandemic, the major focus of every developer or every stakeholder is to kind of gauge where is the consumer sentiment moving and what is the consumers thinking of. And during this second wave, what we figured out that the risk aversion is kind of taking a backseat now. So if you look at the numbers of percentage of people who are kind of preferring to buy real estate has gone up to 54% as compared to 48%. And the percentage of people who wanted to park their money either in FD or gold has slightly come down to 3 and 9%. So this gives a clear indication that after weathering such a deadly outbreak, people are slowly getting back to their life, and the risk aversion is taking a backseat. People are kind of going and buying out houses, and kind of the way stock market is booming, you see the percentage also quite gone up. If you look at the digital journey that the developers have covered, it's kind of phenomenal. In fact, COVID was a blessing in disguise, where it has fast-tracked the digital adoption by the entire stakeholder. And for the buyers also, if you see, from 39% of their digital searches have gone to 60%, which is kind of quite heartening to know. What are the 4 attributes when a buyer logs into internet, and what are the key factors that is looking when you're searching for a property? So 64% of them look for offers and discounts that the developers are offering. And 57% are looking for actual images of the project and then videos on the website. And 55% are looking for accurate project details. And it's kind of really interesting to know that 44% of the respondents said that they wanted to get a quick response to the queries that they post on the website of the developers. Right, next slide, please. Now, it has been long said that the housing market has slowly moved towards end user driven and with a good mix of investors. That is also evident from a survey. From the first wave, if you compare, the percentage of buyers who are looking to buy property for self-use has gone up from 59% to 71%. Now, what are the focus area of the buyers? Apart from the pricing, they are also looking for the credibility of the developer. So it's kind of a clear shift that the grade A reputed developers are going to gain the market share in this changing market scenario, and the buyers are willing to pay premium for a slightly better developer and kind of don't want to go with a cat B or C developer and kind of take any execution risk. An interesting phenomena that came out was that people are slowly willing to buy projects that are nearing completion. So earlier it was a complete shift towards only buying RTM, but as and when the risk subsides, the developers kind of gain prominence in terms of the reputation. RERA has been kind of very strong in sending quite few judgment in the favor of buyers. So people are slowly kind of moving and taking that small amount of risk and kind of preferring properties which are nearing completion as well. Right, next thing. What are the top influencing factor? We all will agree that this pandemic has taught us the importance or kind of highlighted the importance of a roof overhead. That is kind of quite evident from the survey, where 34% of the people said that they want to buy for the sense of security, and that also is kind of a long-term positive for this sector, because that brings in huge amount of end user in the market. And also it's kind of encouraging to note that the ticket size of the purchase is increasing. So now 38% of the respondents said that they are looking for property above 90 lakhs. So there is a shift in kind of increasing the budget size. The focus on amenities that a project offers has gained prominence, because during this lockdown, everybody has realized the importance of a gated community living, which provides a sense of security and wellness. So that's the reason people have stressed focus on projects that are high on amenities would be on their wish list. Pranit, next slide, please. And as Anuj rightly pointed out during his opening remark, that the preference is clearly shifting towards peripheries. Good amount of people are willing to buy projects in peripheries. Couple of reasons for that: because of this hybrid working model, people are kind of no more restricted to live near their workplace. And also, if you notice, most of the infrastructure projects which were connecting these far-flung areas are nearing completion. So I think that's also one of the reasons why people are willing to consider peripheries on the purchase radar. 2 BHK remains the preferred ticket size and configuration amongst the buyer. So with this, Ranit, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you for that wonderful reports overview. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now be beginning with our first and the most exciting panel discussion, which is lined up today. So we'll be starting off with the session 1 on the Indian housing sector emerging stronger post-pandemic, the resurgence saga. May I first introduce the session moderator, Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman CI Real Estate Knowledge Session and Chairman Anurag Group, with over 30 years of experience in India and global real estate markets, and as trusted advisors to developers, occupiers, and investors. Anuj sir has set Anurag in 2017, which is now India's leading independent real estate service company. Now, may I introduce our session speakers, Mr. B. Santanam, the CEO, Asia Pacific and India, Chairman, St. Gobain, India. An alumnus of IIT Madras and Ahmedabad, Mr. Santanam started his career as a management trainee in Grindwall Norton, a St. Gobain group company. And over more than 2 decades, Mr. Santanam was instrumental in the group's investment of over 750 million in flat glass to create a pan-India manufacturing footprint. Mr. Harsh Neotia, the chairman of Ambuja Neotia Group, an alumnus of Harvard and the chairman of Ambuja Neotia Group that operates through several companies covering the entire spectrum of the real estate industry, including
Asim?
Some difficulty.
I think he's sort
Yeah,
of gone on
Ronak,
freeze.
there was some problem with the.
Now.
Yeah. Real estate at the age of 29, starting with the first project, Mr. M.R. Jayashankar, who is the CMD of the Brigade Group. And he is the first project of Brigade Towers in Bangalore in 1986. And the Brigade Group, under his fine leadership, has so far completed more than 70 million square feet in South Indian cities. Mr. Ravi Agarwal, the co-founder and MD of Signature Global Group. A chartered accountant by profession, Mr. Ravi Agarwal has been playing a prominent role in his group's success. A young, dynamic, and multi-talented personality, Mr. Agarwal possesses an excellent communication and interpersonal agility and has been a great guiding force behind his team's repetitive success. Mr. Murli M., the CMD of Shriram Properties, an alumnus of Harvard Business School. He's a first generation entrepreneur and the founder of property development arm of USD 10 billion plus business conglomerate Shriram Group, Chennai, India. And finally, Mr. Vipul Rungta, the MD and CEO of HDFC Capital Advisors Limited. Mr. Rungta currently manages the largest residential private equity fund in India with AUM and excess of USD 1 billion. The fund is primarily focused on providing long-term equity and mezzanine capital for development of affordable and middle-class income housing in India. Welcome panelists and welcome moderators. With this, may I now request Anuj sir to kindly take over. Over to you, sir. Anuj sir, you're on mute.
It's an absolute delight to have this, esteemed panel with us. I'm very excited. We've got about 45, 50 minutes to roll it through, and I'm going to quickly start. I'll start with Mr. Jayashankar. Today, Mr. Jayashankar, I'm actually in your city.
Great.
Doing an internal review. And
Normally, I come to know when you're in Bangalore.
But my first question is, Mr. Jayashankar, this city seems to be the most robust and, it is the most resilient in India. So what is that characteristic of the city that makes it so resilient, even during the tough times?
Thank you, Anuj. I think in the last 6 months, we may not be the most resilient, or we may not have sold the maximum. It is only next only to Maharashtra, but primarily because we didn't enjoy the same kind of stamp duty relaxations as Maharashtra. And we are all envious of developers from Maharashtra from that angle. But see, the characteristic of Bangalore is it is largely dependent on IT sector. I mean, every city is dependent on, of the top 7 or 8 cities. IT contributes quite a bit for each of the things, but in Bangalore it contributes much more. If the Karnataka GDP is about $230–240 billion, probably 1/3 is due to IT. And as far as resilience is concerned, see, in spite of the pandemic, whether the first wave or second wave, the professionals, be it in IT sector or be it in other industries, they were not affected financially. Most of them have received their salaries. On the other hand, I would say they've been benefited in the sense that while the salary is have been remained same, or in some cases have gone up, whereas their expenditure has substantially come down due to lack of avenue for expenditure during the last 18 to 20 months. And in addition, the need to save, probably pandemic would have given a scare to quite a few people. So they thought it is better to save and also use it for more real assets, which is real estate, unlike the stock market or anything. So and for all the reasons which you mentioned, whether to upgrade from a smaller area to a larger area, to move from one house to a second house wherever people can afford. And if someone doesn't have a house, the first thing is to go buy a house. That is why even the millennials have started buying, you said. And in fact, that we were witnessing only in the years of 2006 or 2007, when millennials were buying. You get an appointment letter, and within 1 week you go to a developer's office and try and book something. And all said and done, say Bangalore, without hesitation, I can say it is quite cosmopolitan. People here are very friendly and welcoming others. And invariably, if someone comes, particularly the parents of an IT professional from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, anywhere, if they come and see the weather and see the general safe situation, the first thing they will do is to coax the son, or they themselves will buy something. That is the reason today the local population, Kannadiga population in Bangalore is just about 20%. I think, and the rest is all people from outside Karnataka. That is one reason for resilience. And then there are several others, of course. One is the lack of capital investment in the last 18 to 20 months. With the result, ultimately money has to find a place. It is invariably moves from gold and stock market, real estate, and fixed deposits, etc. Now I think some of the stock market gains may also have come into real estate. Who knows? And with FD rates being so low, so people feel there is no point putting money in banks. Though their bank deposits also may be going up, still they feel it is better to have some solid asset. So these are some of the reasons, and I would say there are many. I will give time to others to speak.
Yeah. My second question to you only, Mr. Jaishankar, is that in the developer fraternity, we've seen there is fear, but there is unabated greed on the other side.
Yeah.
And I've always seen you on the fear side, and yet you have done so beautifully. So how have you controlled yourself from getting into the unabated greed and not cross the line, and always remain very cautionary, very sort of grounded, and very aware? I mean, even last time when I met up with you, I was like, would you come with me to Bombay? And you're like, no, I'm not getting onto that flight to Bombay. So what keeps you away from the greed?
No, I would say, and not fear. I may go towards the conservative side, and also what keeps me away from greed is probably my dad has taught me only one or two things. Well, one of them being, he says, when you do business, you do to the extent you can absorb the losses. If you are able to observe the losses and still carry on with life or business, it is fine. Not like it is all or not. I'm not the type to have all or nothing.
Good point. Absolutely.
That is one. And secondly, India is such a large country, and there is no pan-Indian developer today. For that matter, there is no country-specific developer anywhere in the world. You take Japan, USA, Britain, or anywhere. There is nothing like a pan-entire country developer. And each of the cities has huge potential. Whether it is, currently we are in about 6 cities, of which 3 are focus areas. I'm not saying I'll never enter, Mumbai or Pune, but at least in the immediate future, we have no desire. At some stage, who knows? I can't, foretell the future.
And what's prompted? Sorry, no, go ahead.
No. And as you said, we are still in an evolving situation as far as real estate is concerned. You gave the example of the Chinese developer. I would have said the same thing in my response. I met a Chinese developer, a number 2 maybe. You must have met the number 1. I met the number 2 developer of Chinese one, Wanky, developers few years back in Singapore. He said his quarterly sales is about 60,000 units in China, and which was at that point of time at the peak of Bangalore market. It was annual sales in Bangalore by all 400, 500 developers, big and small put together. So I always feel, India is a 2.6 trillion economy, and whereas China is today maybe a 14 trillion economy. And this statement of the Chinese developer was when China was a 9 trillion economy or $9 trillion economy. So that only shows the potential that the country has, since we have the same demographic population. Population is more or less same, and we are going to overtake China in a decade or so. So that being the case, once today our per capita income is just about $2,000, and once we reach a $5,000 or a $6,000, the disposable income in the Indian public is going to be very much substantially more. At that time, people are definitely going to invest in real estate and so many other aspects. So the economy is going to really zoom once we reach that critical figure of $5 to $6 billion trillion dollars, and maybe $5,000 to $6,000 per capita income.
My last quick question to you, Mr. Jaishankar, what's prompting your share price going up and up and up?
See, in spite of all the knowledge one has, no developer can give you the reason why the share price is going up. That is something which has surprised everybody. And, nobody would have thought of a 55 or 58,000 Sensex. Other than maybe Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, nobody would have thought of it, I suppose. But it is welcome. See, I'll also give you one other reason. People have been asking me. I'm not talking about just our share. Generally, Indian shares were valued based just on profitability. And that is the reason, say, I've been an observer and operator of stock market also for the last 30 to 35 years. So the P ratios used to be 1:6, maybe 20 years back. Then it started slowly going up 1:12, 1:15, like that. Today, the average P ratios is maybe almost the 30, I suppose. So which was earlier based purely on profitability. Today, it is also based on the efforts taken by the developers. I wouldn't say developers, any industry person. Otherwise, why do you say loss-making companies, whether it is startups, don't mind naming, whether it is Zomato or anything, why is it being priced so high? It is primarily because the efforts and the ability to scale up is what is being appreciated and valued. And it is not that every person can scale up to that extent.
Yes.
Similarly, even for developers, where once if one has to reach a certain level of business, like the people in this panel and many others who are not in the panel, so it would have taken blood and sweat of decades of hard work. That, I think, is beginning to be appreciated. And particularly in this market, you know it better. There is the branded developers are getting more business, and maybe the one-time or two-time project developers are losing out. While the overall size of the market has come down, even in real estate, but the recognized developers are still able to keep their head above high, and for that matter, they're able to do much more business. These are some of my points.
Yeah, my thought is similar to yours, Mr. Jaishankar, that whilst the market has shrunk, but disproportionately the good quality developers have increased their revenue.
So at last, recognition to the effort is beginning to be given, by the stock market. And apart from, of course, people will say SIP money and free money in the international market, quantitative easing by US. All those are all certainly the factors. The fact that there is no other opportunity for investment is the reason why so much of money is going in for SIPs, and ultimately they have to deploy the money. They can't keep it with themselves.
I'm going to come to the Dada of East India, Mr. Harsh Nevatia. Somebody that one loves to listen. As I've said it before as well, from economy to politics to religion to business. Business, not only real estate business, but business in general. So Harsh, sort of 2 or 3 quick questions. One, Harsh, did you expect that the bounce back of the residential market was going to be so quick after the first wave? Sorry, you're on mute, Harsh.
Thank you, Anuj, and thank you for this, for inviting me to this rather distinguished panel. No, when the first wave hit, I was actually a very worried man. I didn't know how it would pan out. And certainly the recovery that happened after the lockdown started opening up was certainly faster and better than I had imagined. So clearly we were prepared for a much longer haul and a much slower recovery. I think 2, 3 things triggered things. One, of course, is that suddenly people realized the importance of space and home in a much more significant manner. The second is the millennials who were kind of shying away from buying homes to rather being more nomadic, probably felt by this event that they need to at least have one home, and therefore the desire to put some of their investment in a home sort of increased. And the third, where some of us in this panel perhaps have benefited, as you said, is that the demand got bunched towards some developers who had a better track record. And as a result, I'm not quite sure if we do a sigma total of sales of all apartments, whether we would have done very well as a city or as a country. But some developers have really done very well. And there are some others who have really also had very great difficulty. So it's been a mixed bag, frankly, but certainly the recovery has been smarter than we expected.
And Harsh, you are in several sectors, including hospitality and retail. When do you think that the bounce back is going to come in those 2 sectors?
Well, I just wish I knew that answer, because the pain at the moment is quite significant. I think the retail is generally coming back slowly. In terms of footfall, we are still around 50-60% of what we were, but in terms of offtake from the shelves, we are about 70-75% in most of the stores. So that's not very bad, looking at the fact that people are still hesitating to be out, and looking at the fact that some amount of habit of online shopping has definitely come in. So I would think it is okay. It's not a great situation, but it's certainly, and then all of us have trimmed our costs. So I think in terms of profitability, we may not be far behind what we were earlier, because we've also rationalized and looked at efficiencies. On the hospitality front, again, the resorts have had a smart pickup. People are now wanting to, because they can't travel overseas, there is definitely a very big push towards luxury resorts. But city hotels continue to be a challenge. Travel is still not opened up fully. Business conferences are not yet happening. Marriages are much smaller. The big fat Indian wedding was a very big revenue generator, which is really not happening in any measure or any sort of comparable measure to what it used to be in 2019. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a long haul. I'm not quite sure whether this winter, which is a big season, will be normal. I don't think so, because people will be cautious, and even the governments will have some restrictions, I think. I hope not, but I hope this vaccination rolls out fast. But looking at it realistically, I think only we can look at a more normal year next year, not this year.
Harsh, there are a number of questions that I can ask you, and in priority, I want to ask you one. We have nearly 300 participants on this. Many are developers, many are stakeholders. What has been the mantra of your success? Not only in real estate, Harsh. I mean, you've had several very successful businesses that you've done. What has been the reason for that success?
Well, Anuj, success is a very elusive and at times very difficult to define. I don't think we have made that kind of success if you take it in financial terms, like many other people. We've been able to do a few interesting projects. We've been able to get some goodwill. Most importantly, all of us who work in doing the stuff that we do, we enjoy what we do. And I think being happy to me is a very important measure of success. I'm sure we could have done more, and we could have made a better balance sheet than we have landed up making. But that didn't happen, maybe partly because maybe we were not that risk. We didn't take as much risk as we should have taken. Or maybe we had some inefficiencies somewhere that didn't get us there. But whatever it is, I'm not unhappy about that. I'm happy that we've been able to at least touch some lives and make some meaningful projects that people are enjoying. So that's the good thing.
I mean, last one, Harsh, is there a thought to move and expand beyond East India?
As Mr. Jaishankar just mentioned, I'm even more cautious than him. So, I love Kolkata. As you know, I write it on my forehead. And we are just, we have no market share, frankly, in Kolkata itself. So we've got a lot of scope here. It's very tough to go to new, absolutely virgin markets and establish yourself. The regulatory system in our country is a nightmare. And, getting the lay of the land and trying to figure yourself out is very, very tough. So I'd rather stick to the knitting and do it in areas where we have developed some knowledge, some access, some goodwill. Otherwise, we can burn a lot of energy in just trying to find our way around rather than in building the projects.
I agree. We're also delighted. We have two fun guys, Vipul and Irfan, and exciting to have the oil in the machine coming in from Vipul and Irfan. Vipul, if I can come to you first, two small questions. One is, how do you get these ideas, yaar? This plotted development, I remember when you had spoken with me and you said, as we're going to be doing this land aggregation. I mean, this was even pre-pandemic. The thought had come in, and we're going to hold this land, we're going to then make money on that one, and that then converted into plotted development, which suddenly is doing exceptionally well in that. So where do you get these thoughts from?
So I have this chip which I have put. You didn't realize about 3 years back I put it on your phone. I overhear all your conversations and all I do is I tell somebody to tell me what are the new things that Anuj is trying to do, and I kind of nothing else.
And all of us have been blaming Pegasus.
Anuj, you know the power of PE, guys. If they want to hit you below the belt, they can hit you.
Anuj is more of a general PE guy, not a real estate PE. He's a tech guy now. But no. I don't think. I think it's just. I think it's the leadership as far as the group is concerned, and it's feedback. It's feedback from everybody. Everybody here. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our existing partners, and it's as Mr. Neotia has kind of put it again so many times. These things are, it's, 5 discussions. We bankers are expert, at least expert at picking up 7 conversations and make a 8th one as if it's my original one. So, so that's what we do, and yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. And then, Vipul, my second question is that only, how do you pick up your partners? What is the criteria in picking up the partners? Because, you know, every time I see the partner that you funded, and I think to myself, if I had the money, I would have exactly put in with the same person. So, I mean, what is it? And, you know, sometimes with some of the other guys, I wonder is how did they invest with this partner? So is it just gut feel? Is it experience? Is it relationship?
No, I think it is that a lot of our partners look at the institution and not necessarily what say I'm doing or what my team is doing. It is more a marriage of consistency, being part of the play, and whether I'm doing it or some other part of the group is doing it, or you know, everybody looks at and relates to the brand. And I think that's a big factor, huge factor in choosing the right kind of people. The organization is almost 45 years old, doing all kinds of things and doing relatively okay so far. So I'm assuming that is going okay.
Anuj, you should ask the partner.
I will ask Mr. Ravi Agarwal.
I took maximum time to convince Mr. Notia.
No, he interviewed me for so long, bloody, before I could pass through to him. It was not, so I can tell you he has a formula, and that formula is not easy to get through to.
Like Coke.
And
I think so. Vipul ji park hi nazar hai. He's having a park hi nazar. जैसे होता ना एक ad है park hi nazar Nirma Super. That is the kind of nazar he has. He's having his own eyes.
No.
Nice.
Yes. He's saying that because it is called a backhanded compliment to himself.
And Vipul, my last one is there a thought to set up a sort of stress fund?
A what fund?
A stress asset fund.
No, I am so stressed, you know, like I was having a discussion in the morning. They say that there are only stress projects that you can give debt to. All other projects need take equity. So I think any kind of debt which is in double digit is today what is called special situation. We have, as I said, we are very good at you know, having names, but no, the idea is, see, stressed, what is required is capital. For the good guys also, for the people who are not stressed, what you need is growth capital. Forget, even construction finance is not available at the pace and at the volume that is required. So yeah, we are doing a fair bit of things. We are doing almost $3 billion of fundraise across schemes, which should all be done by end of this calendar year. So yeah, things
fantastic. And this Vipul is for the
stress is not one of them. Stress is not one of them.
Not one of them. Okay. Is it for new themes or is it for existing themes?
All housing, new themes.
Nice. Look forward to that. Irfan, I'm going to come to you. What has Swami Fund done differently from funding done in the past?
I'll just, hi, good evening. I'll just refer back to what Vipul mentioned, right? Stressed assets will get, would have got funding at 20% plus in the scenario. And what makes us different is, one, we are a social impact fund. Two, a social impact fund of the scale and size that has never been seen before in the Indian domestic scenario. And finally, we are not looking at 20% returns. We are looking at 12% returns from the projects that we invest in. Most of those projects would not be able to get funding even at double that rate. So that's how Swami is different. But that's how Swami is different. But what is it that we've done differently? I think that's far more important. And one clear right? I mean, we've emphasized it over and over again in all our discussions is, this is the first fund that has a focus on construction only. We go to the extent of trying to maximize the labor density at the site. I might even stick my neck out and say that our sites have probably the highest labor density across construction sites for residential projects in the country. In the past, developers would often pace construction with the velocity of sales.
Correct.
Right? We are now working with developers where we tell the developers that the entire money to complete the project is available. Instead of working at one point, you can work at 5 points simultaneously across structures and vertically also, do start the finishing work or whatever is possible on the lower floors while the upper floors are still being built. So that's how we are different, because the emphasis is on construction. And it's not just words, right? And it's not just, that money is available. We also tell them that you don't have to repay us anything while the construction is on. If you have collections and if you have sales, you can pump them back into construction. So that's how we, walk the talk when it comes to our construction focus. How we are also different is the fact that for the first time, a fund is putting down the money on the table and saying that is all that is required to complete the project. You are not dependent on the next financier. You are not waiting for the next customer to come in to complete the gap in your financing. We have all the money that is required to complete it. So we have, almost no dependence on new sales. We have a very low dependence on collections in a project. And when we step in, we can very confidently say that we have what it takes to complete the project. And what it takes to complete the project is not just funding, and that's where we are different, right? We also believe that the money has to be spent well. The money has to be spent on the project, and these are certain obvious things which you would trust your partner, but we go by the trust but verify principle, right? So what we've done differently is we have a project management company which is located at the site. All expenses are first vetted by the submitted by the developer, vetted by the PMC company, and then members in my team will also check the expenses. And their ability to check the expenses comes from the fact that before entering a project, we do a very detailed technical due diligence as well. So there is a very clear cost estimation of how much will be spent on different components of the project, and we keep a track of expenditure incurred versus the cost that has been allocated to it very closely. So we act as pseudo CFOs, virtual CFOs for the project. So it's not just funding; it's ensuring how the funding is spent, right? So that's very important. It goes to the extent that we discourage advances. We try to work with reimbursement, so we reimburse expenditure, and therefore disbursements in our fund, like I'm always stating internally, will only be as fast as cement dries. It will not be faster. It is only as the structure goes up, as the structure is completed, that disbursements will happen. So that's how we are very different. We are also very.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
We are also very different in the sense that we are, a forward-looking fund. We do not look at, what has happened in the past. So, if sales is a criteria and poor sales is a criteria, then we would not be doing any deals, right? There would be no stress projects. So the fact that you haven't sold a single unit in the last 2-3 years is by itself not a disqualification. Similarly, the fact that the promoter has had, various historical encounters with the law, for example, is also not a disqualification, right?
Big thing.
Because that in itself is one of the key reasons why the project has got delayed and stalled, right? So we cannot cite that as a reason and then just do nothing. Similarly, the fact that there have been legal issues in the past, there have been tussles in the past, there have been complications in the past, is not a criteria. What we try and see is going ahead, right? We are confident we can control the inflows and the outflows in the project. Will the project be able to, will the receivables and sales be enough to complete the project and take care of our return requirements, right? So will they be able to generate a 12% return on our investments? So that's again very important for us. And finally, I think very importantly here is the fact that we are not a project which is focused only on the large cities, Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, and so on. There have been many funds. There are many funds which cater to their requirements. This is truly an all-India fund. Our mandate is to complete projects anywhere where RERA is applicable. And having a mandate is one thing, and having a performance track record is another thing. So we've given final approval to projects in 36 cities across India. That includes the 8 tier 1 cities and 28 tier 2 cities. So we are truly an all India fund in that sense. That's how we are different.
Outstanding. And, I must admit is, Whipple had organized a meeting with the ministry, a few years ago, and I had the privilege of attending it. At that time, Irfan, we were not sure how this fund is going to come in, how the impact is going to come, how tangible it is going to be, how is it going to be implemented, whether the home buyer sentiment is going to improve or not. I should compliment you, Irfan. We've had the privilege of seeing it firsthand. So it does, otherwise government, a lot of times announcements come in and you really wonder, where did that money go? What happened? In your case, we've genuinely seen the impact. We've genuinely seen the completion of it. It's very tangible. The home buyer sentiment has definitely improved with what you're coming.
Also, sorry, Anu, one very different thing which I would say as far as Irfan and team is concerned is that, as a fund manager, I can tell you what the expanse that he's talking about. The expanse is as difficult, if not more, than say the reason why Mr. Jaishankar and Mr. Nathia don't want to move out of South and East India. Running funds, managing those risks, managing multiple partners is such a horrendous challenge, and it is complete hats off to Irfan and team that they are able to run that play. Because, like for example, even though we are a pan-India organization running which is beyond 7 or 8 cities, is not even in our 5-year plan. And he's talking about 36 cities. It's
very tough. Very tough.
So let me just add some numbers behind that performance, right? So I will not contest anything that you guys have just said. I will gracefully accept it. Thank you so much for the kind words. But I will also, add a little bit more so that, you get a chance to say even better things in the future. We have a 2-stage approval process. We first give a prelim approval based on, information readily available from the developer, desktop diligence, desktop forensic due diligence, whatever. And we get a prelim approval from our investment committee. We then do a intensive external due diligence. So we appoint 4 to 5 agencies to due diligence different aspects of the project, corporate, legal, forensic, title, and ESG, and so on. And then we give a final approval, right? So the scoreboard for us in cricketing terms, right, is we have given clearance to 87 projects, which will complete about 53,000 homes. We have given, and that's final clearance. We have given a prelim clearance to 142 projects. These will complete another 78,000 homes. So, sum total, we are looking at 1 lakh plus about 1,30,000 homes that we hope to complete. But that's a hope because, a lot of the prelim information does not stand the test of due diligence. So I will still pin the numbers on the final approvals we have where we are scheduled to complete 53,000 homes. Now, more importantly, I can also tell you that we have already completed 1,100 homes in 5 projects across the country. Not just that, we are now on the path, and hopefully with no further COVID-related delays, to complete about 10,000 homes by the end of this financial year. These current approvals that we have in place, we are in a position to generate a run rate of about 10,000 homes completed every year for the next 3 to 4 years. And that run rate can only improve because, as more and more projects get approved, that run rate will only improve. But currently we are at a point in time where we are online to complete about 10,000 homes every year.
Irfan, one quick question.
Sure.
Is this 25,000 crores not spent?
So no, we have not spent the 25,000 crores. In fact, we'll take 6 to 7 years to spend it because, like I said, our spending will be linked to the pace of construction. So there are very large projects which will take 6 years to complete, and we have the money, sanctioned, but with us in our control to disburse as the project progresses. And Anuj, honestly, in our interaction with our sponsors, the government, it is not a question of 25,000 crores. They've made it very clear, abundantly clear at several points in time that as much as is needed to address the issue will be made available. So even 25,000 crores is not a constraint.
Super, yeah, great job, Irfan. All credit, as I said, is the consumer sentiment is definitely going up. with your congratulations to the government of India, and thanks to Vipul as well to have championed it at that time to bring this fund, and great job done by you and the
Vipul is a friend and advisor, both to
Mr.
the fund
Santhanam,
as well
I'm
as
going to
to some
come to
people
you.
in the fund.
I'm going to come to Mr. Santhanam, who's the CEO of Asia Pac and India. And Sir, Saint Gobain has made this announcement that they're going to be investing 2,500 crores in greenfield and brownfield expansion in India. Was this announcement sort of pre-COVID? And if it was, does it continue to stay as committed?
Yeah, so firstly, thank you for inviting me, and it's very nice to see a lot of my customers here. So thank you, and you are making those 25,000 crores, 2,500 crores happen. So firstly, I think most of us see us as from the glass angle, but we are really a solid building materials company, be it glazing, be it gypsum, be it partitions, or be it the construction chemicals. We have a very wide portfolio. And in every one of them, we have a market leadership position, that all of you know that. But what we actually, during the pandemic, we accelerated our CapExes. Before the pandemic, we had some thoughts about the CapExes. But during the pandemic, sometime when as Mr. Jaishankar and Harsh and others talked about, we saw a rapid recovery. We realized that 2 or 3 years from now, we would be short on capacity on many of our businesses. And therefore, frankly, we accelerated our CapExes. So I talked about this 2,500 crores 6 months ago. If you ask me now, I think we probably would be, we'll do that 6 months ahead of schedule. Now, I think in our view, this pandemic is a short-term, serious short-term crisis. And I to some extent, I agree with what Harsh talked about. While there's a lot of V-shaped recovery, we have to admit that as of July and August, Indian GDP is 10% lower than what it was in 1920. So that's really the state of India. I think a large number of us who are in this panel, I think, belong to strong companies and strong groups and very good management, and therefore we are the people who are being asked to talk about, and we are the ones who are representing the stock market as such. But I think there is a lot of hurt in the industry, and therefore, so my view is that the pandemic has changed dramatically many things. Firstly, consumers have become powerful. And I think today, and that is making a very big difference, thanks to RERA and thanks to consumers' understanding. You saw your survey. I think they're looking at reliability, they're looking at credibility, they're looking at responsiveness, and they want to make sure that the time is very crucial. I think Irfan talked about time and speed of construction as central to his funding. I think you see that consumers have really significantly shifted. The second one is, there's a very interesting shift. I think the well-off ones in India have actually done very well during the pandemic.
True.
40%, your survey says 40% of the people are talking about 3-bedroom apartments, and more than half of them are talking about 90 lakhs and above. So that's an extraordinary shift. We keep talking about units, 130,000 units, 400,000 units, but you see in value terms, the thing has gone up significantly. We have seen, we are a 6,500 group company. The number of requests that we are getting for people to buy homes has really gone up. So I have a feeling there is a certain part of the consumer are really looking for homes. And the fact that a large number of them have spent time at homes during the work from home period in the last, like for instance, 18 months, I've not moved out of my home, and only 20% of our employees are office-going employees are working from the office. But despite all of that, people have recognized home is at the core of what we have to do. So essentially, the sizes are going up, the flexibility is required, people are integrating digital into it, and they're looking for more elegant solution. That's really where, and the builders are capitalizing on that. Almost every single builder here wants to differentiate, wants to innovate, come up with innovative products. And that's really where we see. So there's a very huge trend of innovation, differentiation, and size, which is happening, and the consumers have aspiration. The second trend, which so far people have not talked about, and I'm pretty much certain that there was some touch on ESG, there is a globally massive shift towards lean, light, sustainable construction. Gone are those massive columns and beams, massive plasters, other things. So today, for instance, people are looking for speed, light, fast construction, which can be done with very low skilled labor. Mechanization is of the order. So we are coming into this because in terms of sustainability, whether it's in the product ranges that we offer, whether it is in controlling the heat that is coming into the thing, or acoustic improvement, or lightweight partitions, we are seeing that more and more builders are looking for that. I know, for instance, what large 100-story the residential complex in Mumbai saved 80,000 tons of material by going towards lightweight, instead of brick and mortar, looking at lightweight pre-mixed materials and plasters, very different, low weight, low embodied energy, window frames and other things. So what we are seeing is all of these trends are coming together. And I think what Mr. Jaishankar said is right. I believe, I believe that China is 30 times bigger than India. So you just have to simply say, if it is one, we sell, at the same time, China will be selling 30. So interesting. That is largely a very simple thing, that there is a massive wealth effect. And I think Jaishankar talked about it. Around $2,500, $3,000 per capita is where the wealth effect starts taking place. Now, when $2,500 becomes $5,000, it is not that you have double the number of units, you have 10x the number of units. So there is going to be a need for sustainable, lean, quick, efficient things. And building materials are really innovating. Regrettably, we don't have the same space that automotive industry has, but we as a construction industry employ probably the largest number of people of the category that are really needed to be employed. And we have made several advances in terms of the way we construct the buildings, the way it is designed, the look and the feel, the aesthetics, the acoustics comfort, the thermal comfort, all of that, but we don't have, we're not talking about the innovation that we're bringing in. Today, when I look at some of the buildings that we have in many of our modern cities, they are as good, if not better than anything that you find anywhere else in the world. So what I see is this differentiation, innovation, digital, speed, lean, sustainable, light construction is really making a big difference. That's really the reason why we're really betting on India, and we believe that there is massive opportunities, whether it's in facades, whether it's in ceilings, whether it's in partitions, whether it's in construction chemicals for adhesives, ready-mix mortars, or whether it's in glazed partitions in the bathrooms. I think there, and there isn't, thankfully, there isn't a company which spans all this sector like Saint-Gobain does, and that's why we are optimistic. And our recovery has been very, very rapid. Despite the fact that we have industry-leading position in many businesses between 40 and 60% market position, we have recovered very rapidly. And I think we're really looking forward future with a lot more hope. But we do recognize this pandemic has really impacted heavily. Economy as a whole, Indian economy as a whole is only still at 10% below. We believe that it can come back very quickly. There could be a third wave, but we are ready for that. So I think that when you look at this, strong companies, strong construction, building companies, strong finance companies have a fantastic opportunity ahead.
Super. Great. But it's a very interesting point that you say, Mr. Santanam, is the ESG, because customer preferences has changed. And it will come. Perhaps we need a separate session for that, but it is absolutely appropriate, because we are also finding certainly the millennials who are coming in, they do want to know what the ESG policy of the company is, and certainly when they're going out to buy the asset, they want to understand how that has been constructed.
Yeah.
I'm just in interest of time, Murli, I'm going to come to you. I have 3 questions to ask you, and you're like on the spot all the time. Tell me, is this festive season, which starts from next month, will be as good as what we saw last year? You're on mute.
I expect this festive season is going to be much bigger than last probably 5 years what we have seen. Already lots of projects have been lined up by large developers, including my friend Jai. So lots of new projects have been lined up. We have been tracking each other well, and so there has been quite a lot of projects. We also lined up good number of projects. I expect that this year will be the best year in real estate demand for, in the last 10 years.
My second question is, we discussed this when I met up with you, is that there's a lot of consolidation that is going on. Do you think that that consolidation phase has come to an end, or it is still an ongoing? And if it is ongoing, how long do you think it'll take further?
Yeah, consolidation is not an end, is my view. Probably 90% it has reached. Some more people, they all reconcile to the fact now Irfan is also helping them, showing them some life. So they all that will get folded now. Maybe in the next 12 to 18 months time, consolidation will be over, is my view. Even some of the large players could fail. So maybe small percentage, maybe 2-3% could fail. But consolidation is in good shape today, which is helping the industry very, very well. So real estate, I mean, that's also one reason stock market is also started paying good price for the established players today, because they see the scale possibility at this point of time.
Murli, the stock market has been really booming, and many IPOs have been successfully launched in 2021. We have two very large listed players on the screen, Vicky Oberoi and Mr. Jaishankar of Brigade. What's your plan to hit the street?
We are, weighing this opportunity very, very carefully. Some certain things are very, very alarming. So in fact, I was, somebody just sent me a forward in the morning that Paytm DRHP, they are saying we expect to continue to incur net losses for the foreseeable future, and we may not achieve or maintain profitability at all in the future. So company is valued well. And they are also further saying, very interesting one. We cannot assure that you will never achieve or sustain profitability and may continue to incur significant losses going forward. Any failure based to achieve or sustain profitability on a consistent basis could cause the value of our equity shares. So they are clearly saying that we will not make money in our future, but you pay so much value. So, and markets seem to be valuing. And unfortunately, I have not transacted in stock market. I don't have any equity other than equity in my own company. Hence, I do not know how this animal behaves. So it's little,
you need to take Mr. Jaishankar and Vicky out for a drink. They'll tell you how this animal behaves.
No, unfortunately, I did this with Jai, not with Vicky on this. Other things I discussed with Vicky, not with this part. But Jai and we found that we are on the same page. So hopefully, we are weighing the option now. Markets are looking good. We should be there soon.
And Murli, a lot of the Bangalore developers have come into Bombay, whether it's Prestige, whether it's Puravankara, whether it's RMZ or Embassy. Is there a thought that you have with Shriram Properties to enter Bombay?
Not at this point of time. As we speak, that we are targeting to do about 4 million square foot plus this year, which is 21-22. And the supply what we have today, with which we could grow to about 5.5 to 7 million square foot in the following 2 years' time. This is only coming from our existing portfolio, which is Bangalore, Chennai, and partly from Calcutta. So now this consolidation phase, we would like to reach the considerable size today. Maybe whoever, in this 4 million square foot space, will look at reaching about 6 million square foot or 7 million square foot pre-sale value in the next 3 years' time. I think if we achieve that 7 million square feet space, I think we'll be good. As Harsh mentioned, every market has got its own challenges and opportunities also, of course, but challenges in Indian bureaucratic system is much higher compared to the opportunity. Whereas the opportunity, what is prevailing in our own markets, something phenomenal. And if we stay focused, whatever the number I said, these are all the projects which are all already, secured. And there are every day, like, Swami Fund, There are about hundreds of people coming to organized developers like us from the, NBFCs or small developers are knocking at our doors. So naturally, there will be some more expansion. If you stay focused on our own areas, we could reach comfortably 8 million square feet or 9 million square feet per year pre-sale. That's a potential, which is comfortably, we can do. So, in a match, you can play at your own pace and ease and still score 400, 500 runs for the day. I think you should be happy about it, is what I feel.
Nice, very nicely put. My last quick one, Murli, is that with the rising input cost, do you think that the margins are at a pressure, or you feel is that it can be passed on to the home buyers?
No, it cannot be passed on to home buyers, unfortunately. Margins are under pressure because of the increase in cost, but the consolidation should help the prices to go up. I expect the prices to go up in the near future, maybe in the next 12 months time, at least to 15% is what I see. So that will take care of the cost increase is the hope. And we already started witnessing price increase in some of our projects. We increased some of our projects more than 10, 12%, and it has attracted some good results. So we expect the price increase to happen. That will take care.
Super, great. I'm going to move to our last panel, the dynamic Mr. Ravi Agarwal, toughest guy, lives in a market which is infested with crocodiles. And is surviving, is thriving. Actually, Mr. Raviji, if you would ask all the panelists on this, they won't mind coming into Bombay, or Bombay guys going into Bangalore. If you say you want to go to NCR, they'll be like, we're switching off this Zoom. We don't want to go into NCR. So I want to ask you two things that you practice in the business, which is keeping you strong. I know you have a very strong partner, Vipul. But two things that you practice in your business, which is keeping you very strong.
And first, I want to thank you so much for being a partner, such an extreme, well panel. I'm delighted to listen these kind of experienced persons. My experience got richer by listening them from last 1 hour. I've got the experience of last 10 years from listening from just 1 hour.
Nice, nice.
Two things. One thing I just want to say, we just address the needs of the people. We react to the market. What is the need of the people? We try to address in our projects. During the pandemic, a lot of things got changed. And every time, the 2 times we have got the pandemic, and new things emerges. I think so. By the pandemic, the style of living not just got changed, the way towards life got changed. The thinking about the life got changed. Now, I think so, we are more valuing the life. I think so at our class of people, we were earlier also valuing the life, but at a class where our customers are there. First, they were focusing on even the rented homes. They are somehow trying to manage that. But right now, I think so, their perspective towards life got changed. They are finding it, and on that line, we are marketing these lines from last 7 years. Apna ghar to apna hi hota hai. Now, I think so, post-pandemic, the persons got realized, apna ghar to apna hi hota hai. I think so. I am on Hindi. This is Hindi lyrics one. I am able to convey this thing to all the panelists. The need changes.
Yes.
Continuously changing.
Yes.
And we are trying to address that need. First, because the first pandemic when happened, the lot of stories were there when the persons were living on the rent. Suppose there is some fever, just a fever to them. Their landlord was saying, take your security deposit back, and they are on the road. And the second pandemic, I think so much maturity was there, but the work from home culture developed. We have tried to address those needs of the customers. Presently, we are developing all those projects with the home office space. And along with that, because they were living on the rent and their budget was very limited. But due to the government, the home loan rates are so low and we are able to match their budget and their needs. And third one is, I think so, because of safety, health safety issues, a lot of things are happening. In the persons who were living on the floors, even in, I think in Delhi, a lot of persons have visited Delhi. Delhi is a culture of low-rise development of floors, the koti living kind of thing. But there is an issue. They are not addressing the health issues because the gated community is not there. There's no health safety issues. And what we are doing in the project, we are giving gated community living, all the things with the complete health safety issues are getting addressed. We are giving the amenities to the customers. And even in recent projects, what we are doing, we are giving the office below their home.
And Raviji, what's the range of price that you operate in?
Currently, in these kind of houses where we are giving the low-rise development with the stalled parking and the home office itself, we are ranging around 60 to 90 lakhs kind of ticket.
And the lowest is how much that you sell at Signature Global?
In high-rise affordable housing, we are dealing in 22 to 25 lakhs of the 2-bedroom apartment, and and the low-rise development as 50 lakhs around.
And Raviji, you can make profit on that?
Surely, 1000%. That's why we are continuously increasing this business. And I just want to share one thing. The kind of phenomena, the customer response is so high. And the last year we did the historical, our last 5-year sales as a cumulative was just 1 year. And in next 1 year itself, we are going to double the sales of the last financial years.
And Raviji, your thoughts on going IPO?
I think so. We are now increasing our business, making this company grow. बहुत सिंपल भाषा में कहूँ, बाल विवाह नहीं करना है. हाँ. इस बच्चे को बड़े होने देते हैं थोड़ा सा.
But just for perspective, the revenue of the company at a 20% margin, the gross sales with at least 20% collected is 4,000 crores.
Yeah.
For one financial year.
Yes.
And you people, he's always very modest. He wouldn't say. If you wouldn't have said,
that's why I'm clarifying. I'm clarifying because I can see Vicky also. I can see Vicky also, but the point is, you know, and bulk of their sales are happening in this 30 to 50 lakh category.
Yeah.
And making profit.
In prime Gurgaon, and everything is in Gurgaon only.
Outstanding in there. And Raviji, last is that how have you survived in that market? I mean, you have a lot of competitors in there who've not been able to survive that market. But you have continued to grow strength on strength.
First one, I think so. The support of SDFC-like institutions and the World Bank, that kind of support, and a lot of institution support, and that kind of corporate governance they have given to us, and the guidance they have given to us, it's helped us a lot. Secondly, I think so, on the delivery track record, when we are taking money from someone, we must have to deliver his home because he's paying money for his home. We have to address that thing. We are trying to even till now, and we have clear endeavor to deliver all the projects before time, and even our company got awarded many times by the Haryana government itself to deliver the projects before time. And second thing, I think so, we are doing the projects, we are giving the homes within their pocket, the budget which is within the pocket of the customer. And third one, I think so, the home loan rates were very good. A lot of home loans companies are supporting us with at a very large level is a very good support kind of thing. And we are very much particular about delivery. We are never derailed from that fact. And the corporate governance, I think so, very much particular, and we are very much endeavored towards that.
Yeah. And you've summarized it beautifully, Raviji. This session, clearly there's a lot of consolidation happening. There is good times ahead for the well-governed corporate developers. Fortunately, all the developers that we have on the screen run very tight, financially disciplined ships. Clearly, delivery continues to remain as a focus, which we've seen in the past as well. Fortunately, the demand has come back. And what it does look like is that this is the return of a structural demand coming back and not only a pent-up demand that is there. And Mr. Santhanam, you said fantastic points on ESG, which is going to remain very important. As the GDP of the country and as the per capita income grows, people are going to become more and more aware of their softer needs, and one will need to cater to those needs. With this, I'm going to pass it on to Ronit to close this session from CII. To the panelists, thank you very much. It has been absolute pleasure. If you want to stay and ask all the tough questions to Vicky, please do that. It's with great effort we've been able to get Vicky on this for about 20-25 minutes. And it'll be just fantastic if you can continue to stay back. But Ronit, if I can pass it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. Thank you, our esteemed panelists and moderator, for that very interesting and quite knowledge gain session. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now be beginning with our next segment, which is a fireside chat on the Indian residential real estate, corporate and organized players to take pole position. The session will be moderated by Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman CI Real Estate, Knowledge Session Chairman, Anurag Group. We will be speaking with Mr. Vikas Oberoi, the CMD of Oberoi Realty. A brief introduction: Mr. Vikas Oberoi is the Chairman and Managing Director of Oberoi Realty, an alumnus of Harvard Business School. He is involved in the formulation of corporate strategy and management and concentrates on the growth and diversification plans of the company. Headquartered in Mumbai, Oberoi Realty is one of India's leading real estate development companies. With this, I would like to invite Mr. Oberoi and handing the session over to Anuj sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vicky. Pleasure having you on the screen.
Hi, Anuj. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Super. We've got nearly 270 odd guys listening to this. So Vicky, first, why are you averse to debt?
It's a myth. I'm not really averse to debt. And I feel whenever you borrow, whatever you borrow, you have to repay that back. And for me, it's very important that I have a very clear cash flow that kind of addresses this issue. I also feel that when you borrow money, you actually put the reputation of your company at risk. And if you default, then you lose everything. So for me, it's like a lose-all game if one goes wrong. So there is a lot of caution built in it, but there is really I'm not averse to debt at all.
Vicky, your projects are outstanding quality. I mean, outstanding. If whatever project, whether it's Goregaon or Borivali or the Worli 360, I want to ask you: is this focus on quality and design, was it something from childhood that you had?
So Anuj, actually yes, I'd say that, and it's like how my father started his business. He did only 2 buildings. And then I inherited the business, but I inherited very strong values from him. And apart from this customer centricity, it was this, eye for detail, getting into, absolute quality execution. And that's exactly what I've followed. Even, in fact, if I tell you that I pretty much don't go to any of my sites, but the way I pick people, the way the entire organization is built, each and every one at ORL is so committed to doing quality that, it's literally become a DNA. And for us, we actually don't know how to build badly. So, it's actually a problem for us. We buy the best, we bring in the best contractors. In fact, when I interview people for jobs and I ask them the staff strength at site, most sites have probably 20 or 30% of supervision staff that we have. And I do ask my people that, why are we spending so much more on supervision? But they say that, the kind of quality that you want can't be achieved, if it's left to only contractors. So, these are things, but yeah, I mean, and I love, I like it this way. And like I said, I don't know any other.
And then Vicky, how is it that you're able to consistently charge premium over the next door development, 15-20% premium usually across all your sites, and sometimes even more with the next door? Is it purely on quality?
So, I think when you buy Oberoi Realty product, it's a package. We have a set process. We follow a fixed price norm. Again, I heard from the panelists, I'm so glad to hear that so many developers now deliver a product, on time, in time, deliver quality. So these are things, and, consistency is what probably also, comes in with this. And I guess this is what customers really appreciate. And, I actually spend a little more than other people. We work harder than other people. I guess people just pay us for what we deserve. We are actually nobody to kind of, put our price and charge. It's actually, beauty lies in the hands of the beholder. And I think customer's king. He wouldn't pay me a penny extra if he did not feel that I deserve it. So that's about it, guys.
Vicky, will you ever get into affordable housing?
I feel affordable housing is not affordable until and unless government comes in with very strong policies. I'd be very happy. I'd love to do that. More than a design mind, we have an engineering mind. We have a mind that can find solutions or does find solutions. But I feel that, a large part of whatever we charge actually goes in the form of premiums and, costs that government charges. So if you really see, it's only one FSI that you buy from land. The rest of it, you're paying premiums to the government. I mean, of course, government also needs revenue. But if they want this other affordable housing to, really kick off, then they'll have to subsidize that. We can do our bit. I can actually produce in less than 2,000 rupees a square foot, reasonable quality, or 2,000 rupees a square foot. But if your premiums are going to be another 5,000 or 6,000, then you defeat the entire purpose of affordable housing. So we need a government intervention initiative, big time, very, very big time. And it's possible. It's really possible to do.
Vicky, we know a lot about your successes. Have there been any failures?
Oh, many. Many failures. Actually, I'm so cautious that, they are smaller. I mean, they are not large blunders. So, I mean, it's just because I'm a little more cautious than many people. And that's why our growth is also slow. But I'm okay with it. I'm fine, not growing at the pace of some of the others. But I want to play it safe. And too much is riding on us. Too many people have put in their hard-earned money. I am nobody to gamble with their money. And this is, a very huge fiduciary responsibility I kind of carry with myself to ensure that, the customer's money, we're a custodian of that money. We have to ultimately deliver them that product in time, quality, and the safety put in together. So this is what really kind of keeps me in check.
And then Vicky, it is a common theme that came out from the panel as well. Or the successful, people who are on the panel just before you have exactly said the same thing. They're not wanting to be aggressive. They're very cautionary. They're very slow, and they have done exceptionally well. So, what a great theme that has come out from this session is that, Previously, it was about aggression, about growth, about geographical footprint expansion, about getting into different product classes, different asset classes. And today, if you were to look and reflect back, the people who have been successful are those who have been extremely cautious, perhaps erring towards, I would say is, I use this word fear, maybe not fear, but just being very disciplined in their expansionary approach.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, so I just want to tell you, Anuj, I'm a hobby pilot. And, my coach told me that a good pilot is a pilot who can land his plane back, and a good pilot is a safe pilot. So, if I expand this theory in business, every time I do a project, I have to finish a project. It's like every time I take off, I have to land. I can't crash land. So that's really the theory. And, and similarly associated to flying is like when you take off, you go full throttle on the engine. And when the plane takes off and when it reaches a particular height, you cut power to 60 or 65% and you start cruising. Most of us forget that the cruise power or the cruise speed is actually the real speed. We can't be running our entire journey in full throttle. We'll only be burning more fuel and burning ourselves or burning our company down. So, at some point when you get elevation, you actually cut power and you come into a situation where your engines are not heating up, you're covering the distance and you're burning exact fuel. So, I'm just saying that if you really put this into the business parlor, you know that this is the cash flow I'm going to get from my business. This is how I'm going to go about spending it. This is where I will reach, and so on and so forth. So you really have to have a plan. You can't, just jump into it without, an end in sight. So,
Vicky, I want to change gears and move towards the market. What's your thought on the Indian real estate market going forward, sort of 24 months from today?
So, I think everyone is saying this. I truly believe and I hope that there is a real consolidation that takes place. And the beauty of our business is not that, multiple companies are going to merge into each other. Some companies will die, their customers will become our customers. And that's like really the simplest form of consolidation. I see consolidation happening. I see a clear shift, to safety from customers' point of view. I keep telling people that the customer writes the biggest check of his life when he's buying a house. And he gives us more money than what he has in his bank because he's sometimes borrowing and giving us. So his trust on the developer is at times more than that, that he has with the bank. I see that, developers who can deliver, and I'm not talking about established or listed or unlisted or whatever, very clearly people who have a good reputation will continue to do well, and it really doesn't matter. You could be in a micro market with great reputation, or you could be pan-India. But if you are going to continue to deliver, if you respect your customer, if you respect that word you've given him for quality and time, and if you are reliable, you're bound to, grow. So I'd say that I clearly see consolidation. I see growth. People have realized, a lot of our panelists said that, people have realized their own home is something that they really relish and enjoy. Money in the bank is not going to give you much. You rather put it in an apartment and enjoy that apartment. People are spending more and more time, whether it's socially or even work-wise, at home. I'm not saying that people are now not going to office, but today, people are scared of going elsewhere. So they are, spending more time at home, and suddenly people have realized that I want to be comfortable, I want to have a better house. And so, I would say that consumption of real estate will go up and has already started going up big time. And I see this happen in the next 24 months.
Vicky, you think price rise is going to happen?
Inevitable. And there is a very simple reason. It's not that any of us want to make more money. We all want to survive. There is a clear cost escalation that's taking place. People are lucky that they are getting an apartment today at whatever price. This is all the inventory that we've been holding on from the past. Though, just inflation doesn't hit a developer. Most developers are so leveraged that every year, whatever they don't sell gets expensive by 10%. That's the least they would be paying as interest. Some people are paying even higher. So I'd say that at these rates, if they're not surviving, how will they survive if input cost goes up? And clearly, if you see that in the last 18 months, how many developers have actually launched new projects? Our projects take anywhere between 3 and 4 years to build if they're a high rise. Last 18 to 24 months, there are no new projects. All the ready apartments are getting sold. So you will have an supply issue as well. At one end, you have a supply issue, and at the other end, you have land prices, your input cost going up. So these are two factors that are going to drive prices up in the very near future, I would say.
Vicky, the real estate sector has been very reluctant in adopting technology. I mean, PropTech has been one of the slowest that we've seen in the space of technology. Within your firm, have you adopted technology, and do you think within real estate technology has a big role to play?
I want to actually say I split technology into innovation and technology both put together. And within this, I'd say that it is product and process. It's not just one. So when you look at product, I mean, we all are trying to customize our product, and in this, there are many things. Are we able to, personalize a product? Can I have a product where you can choose the color, you can choose the tile, you can choose the wooden finish, and I give this control to my buyer? That's one part. Can I use technology in booking an apartment? Can I use ARs and VRs of the world to display my product? So this is one part itself. And within that, the product itself. I heard somebody say this, I thought we were amongst the first few. But as soon as pandemic hit, we realized that most people are today wanting to work from home. Work from home, yes. But then they are either consuming the entire living room or a bedroom and so on and so forth. So we created a small Zoom meeting room. It's a multi-activity room. You could use it as a Zoom meeting room. You could use it to, a gaming room, or, you could convert it into a temple or many other things. So we created this, extra Zoom meeting room. We also realized that the segment that I work in, house help is inevitable, this thing. And most people realize that I want my house help or staff to stay at home. So a small staff room, a small toilet for them separately kept, so that, if there is a lockdown or if there's a second wave or a third wave that happened, of course, these are people that continue to stay at home. And this takes away this gives you, only additional 50 or 70 square feet. But this kind of starts making a big difference. So product and process, we've been absolutely, and I'm not waiting for, or rather we did not wait for COVID to happen. We did this, 3 and 4 years ago. We adopted BIM. We adopted, all app-based, what you call quality control, wherein our engineers today on a real-time basis click photographs of things that are not happening appropriately. The message is going to the contractor. This gets into the list of open items that need to be completed. So again, I'm saying that both process and product, innovation is a constant. You can't but not innovate.
My last question on the business before I move to the personal side, Vicky, is there are a lot of consolidation happening, and we said as many small developers, big developers, are approaching those developers who have an ability to continue with the construction and continue with the sale. So I'm sure there are lots of projects coming to you as well, Vicky, which are brownfield. Would you have an appetite to take brownfield projects, inherit them towards and move towards completion?
So Anuj, we have looked at some of these brownfields, some of them got by you as well, and they are in prominent locations. There is money to be made. But when I look at the product, I mean, I saw an apartment, I saw a building designed, 5 apartments per floor, 2 elevators at one end, 2 elevators at the other end, and 1 at the other end. And I was wondering, I said, if a customer has to, and these are all elevators that are interconnected, how would the customer do this? I just couldn't get my head around it. And then I started thinking, I need to break this, I need to break that. Then it gets into the product being unviable. A lot of people blindly buy a house thinking that we have seen everything, and most of these, commonsensical things are all sorted out. But if I don't see that, then it gets very difficult. So obviously, if I'm looking at a brownfield, it has to first pass this muster or test that it's a product we can really brand and endorse. If we can't, then I wouldn't. So money is not the only thing I want to make in life. But make a good product, I'd refuse that.
Absolutely, and I completely agree. And that's probably one of the biggest mantras of success. We keep moving to the third and the final section. If you were to able to rewind back to the start of your work life, would you do anything different to what you have done?
I would have completed my graduation, which I didn't. That was one thing I would do, and yeah, so that's one thing big. And of course, the knowledge of hindsight. My first few buildings would have been much better than what they are today. But nevertheless, so it's been a journey. One learns. Whatever I finished today, I already believe that I can do so much better in the next project. So obviously, that regret always is there, and it should be there because that keeps you going. And then one wants to keep innovating and learning and implementing.
One of the things that a lot of people ask, and my office said is, we do want to know Vicky's day life. How does he divide between his work and family time? So I said, okay, I will ask, how does Vicky's typical day looks like?
So, I live a very seamless life. So from the time I start at 7 in the morning till I finish, dinner, and then, probably watch some TV or something like that, I live a seamless life. I haven't broken my day into, these are my working hours, this is my family hour. If you walk into my office and, we just have to sit and have lunch, I'm very happy to leave work aside and then have lunch with you and chat. But, when I'm at a dinner and if there's a work call, I'm very happy to step out, take that work call and finish it. So what has happened is, I don't keep, ideally, I try and not keep anything pending. And for me, it's not like, oh, I get distracted if there's work call at 8:30 or 9 in the night, or there is something at 7. So like I said, that I'm happy taking a call from a friend at 11 in the morning. It's not like, oh, no, this is my work time and I can't do it. Versus, so even like, if I'm working out or whatever, I sit in the car, I'm on the phone, I can be having breakfast while I'm, driving to work. Like I said, I just want to keep life very seamless because I love and enjoy my work as much as I do any other, anything else. That's how it is.
Does Vicky Oberoi get opportunities to take holidays?
Oh, I take tons of them. You know it. Come on, Anuj, you don't have to ask me this. You can actually tell the world that I take too many holidays. And, again, there, I'd say my holidays are also seamless. I would, if I'm in any part of the world, I'm only looking at buildings, I'm only looking at product, finish, design, and we bring that back. Even if it's lifestyle, we want to bring that back and we want to offer it to the customer. So that helps me, keep in pace with how the world is living. And our job is to give lifestyle to people. It's not just giving them a home. 360 West, our project, what all have we done in the amenity section? And like, it's almost unheard of. But, and all this one gets only when you travel. The world is a show window. You travel everywhere, you see what the world is doing. bring that back, and get it adapted to Indian conditions, Indian style and stuff like that. Customers teach you a lot. One of my customer told me, you should have a bowling alley. Your customer, you got that guy. And I said, yeah, great idea, let's do it. And he looked at me and he says, oh, come on. As if, you're going to listen to me and you really do it. We put that on. And, when the drawings were made, I told him, I said, I'm doing this. He says, no, I will not believe till it actually happens. And he still says, I need to pinch myself. I said, you gave me a great idea. I should also be thanking you for what you did, And there it is. I mean, we have a bowling alley in 360 West. The courtesy of customer suggesting, So, yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic, Vicky. We can go on and on and on.
I know.
I'm cautious.
You have a lot of people, Anuj. I really admire the commitment you have for CII and, the amount of work you put in. It's great to have somebody like you. CII is in great hands. And yeah, great.
Thank you, Vicky. I mean, I picked up several things, but 5 which came out very prominent from this chat. One is quality, that is paramount. Second is growth, but very cautionary growth. Third is clearly design, which is your passion. Design, I would add delivery to that. Innovation and customer centricity. And that is what success is. And I do know to all the audience and the panelists that Vicky does take a fair amount of breaks and does take time off. It is not about just work. He has an ability to be able to extract himself from work and spend good quality time with his family and with his friends. And that's perhaps what recharges a successful person like Vicky to come back and start with the work all over again. Thank you very much, Vicky. What a delight. We've had a very delightful couple of hours. We've had nearly 250 to 300 audience watching this. Fantastic panel and fantastic discussion outcomes from that panel. And delighted to have this fireside chat with Vicky. Ronit, Asim, thank you very much for putting together this show. Thank you to CII for always being very generous with their time, with the platform, with the participation, and with the ability to be able to draw the right conclusions from these seminars. So thank you very much to all of you, and thank you to our sponsor, Sain Gobin, who's been very respectful of the sponsorship. So thank you very much, guys. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ronit, do you want to close?
Thank
formally?
you. Thank you, Mr. Oberoi. Thank you, Mr. Puri, our esteemed panelists, for that excellent fireside chat and the knowledge session. And with that, I would like to declare this session a close. Thank you and see you again.